Hi everyone, this is Rainey. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I thought I'd take you guys along while I'm making pickles. And I'm using the low pasteurization method that is in the home canning USDA book here. And by the way, the camera angles are probably not going to be that great because I'm not coordinated enough to actually be moving the camera around and doing everything. I can barely even can. So all of you guys should probably know by now that I am a first-time canner this year. So do not do as I do. Sorry, I'm looking for a knife. So, anyways, so I thought you guys could just join me in the kitchen and you can see what I'm doing and maybe even critique me. So I have a bunch of these cucumbers that I picked, and they've actually been in a saltwater brine, which is kind of nice because you can pick as they get to the size that you want, and then sometimes you only have like a handful, and it's not like you're gonna try to pickle or process just a handful. So you can put them in this saltwater brine that's also in that book, and hopefully you guys can hear over the fan. But anyway, so you can keep them in that brine for, I think it's up to 7 days. The book tells you only, I think, 12 hours, but this method has been done many times by people on YouTube. So they're saying up to 7 days, and so some of these have been probably 5 days. And right now I'm just cutting the ends off. And then I'm going to actually cut these into spears. So basically just in half and then into spears. And I'm not a professional cutter either, so they're not going to be absolutely perfect. I like the spears, or I think I'm going to like the spears most, because I'm hoping that they'll stay crispy. And this low pasteurization process that they approve for canning is supposed to be the one way that helps to keep them crispy. There's also what they call a pickle crisp that you can put into the jars as well, but I haven't used it right now. I've just been trying to do as natural of methods as possible first, and see if I can find a recipe that keeps the pickles as crunchy as possible first, before I start trying to use something that has more chemicals in it. Now, I don't know exactly what's in pickle crisp, so I can't say whether it's good for you or bad for you or anything like that. So the brine, I'll tell you what's all in it in just a second. I actually cut the recipe in half, but it's got a pickling spice mix in it that I'll be putting in with, let's see, water, vinegar, sugar, and then some mustard seed, and fresh dill, and dill seed, and some garlic will be going directly into the jars. Okay, I'm almost done here. I've got my, if you can see behind me, I've got my lids, and my rings in hot boiling water. Not boiling, actually. I boiled the water and then I just poured it over the top, and then it's just on low heat to keep warm. Technically, you don't have to boil the lids anymore, apparently, but I still like pouring the boiling water over it. I have a, I don't know what they call these, but it brings boiling water up real quick, or water up to boiling really quick, I should say. And then I just pour that over the lids. Now, you guys can tell me whether you think that that's safe or not, because again, I'm a first-time canner and I could be making mistakes, and I certainly don't want to create botulism, which is always, I think, a worry of a new canning person. What's kind of funny is I watch a lot of videos and people are always saying that they're more worried about blowing the kitchen up with their pressure canner. Honestly, that doesn't even bug me one bit. I'm more concerned with canning something incorrectly and actually creating botulism at some point. So that's what I'm more worried about. Okay, so I have everything chopped up into spears. And let's go ahead and start up the brine. So, let's see. I'm going to go just over medium-high heat. I'm going to bring the vinegar. This is, let's see, just over 2 cups. It's actually 3 cups, excuse me. Because I'm splitting the recipe in half. So I have about 4 pounds of cucumbers, and this recipe calls for 8 pounds. And then I have 4 cups of water. And then you're supposed to put a tablespoon of this pickling season. This is the stuff that I got. I don't know if it looks good. I actually had bought, I don't know about you guys, but finding pickling spice and mustard seed right now was crazy. And by the way, shout out to Erica for having mustard seed in her house that she hadn't even opened or used, and she gave it to me because there was no store in this town that had mustard seed. But this pickling spice I picked up at Walmart. It kind of just looks really dull. It's probably good, but this one I actually ended up finding at Albertsons or something like that, and boy, it sure does look really pretty. So it looks like it's got like the red pepper flakes in it. I don't know if this other one has that. Yeah, it says it's got red chilies in it, but anyway, this one looks more vibrant, so that's the stuff I've been using up first. So we're going to bring this up to a boil. I'm going to actually put the pickling spice in a tea, I don't know what they call these, but tea thing, because I don't have any cloth to put it in. So the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons, so I'm putting a tablespoon in here. Oh man, it smells so good. Okay, so I had to do that off camera or I'd spill it everywhere. Okay. So basically, here we go, and I am going to just let it soak in there. You're supposed to bring it up to a boil. My jars are actually up to a boil right now, so let's set the timer for 10 minutes. We're actually sanitizing those right now, or sterilizing, I should say. I guess there's a big difference in that. So So sterilizing is basically bringing it up to a boiling temperature for a certain amount of time. Sanitizing, I think, is what most of the newer dishwashers do, but apparently that's not high enough for anything that you're going to water bath canning. If you were to, I think it's pressure can stuff for, I think, more than 10 minutes, I think it is. Could be water canning more than 10 minutes. You guys tell me, I'm not 100% sure I remember. But anyways, I know for sure if you pressure can it for more than a certain amount of time, then you actually don't have to sterilize your jars ahead of time. But since I couldn't remember and I didn't look it up, I'm not going to just sanitize. I'm going to go ahead and sterilize, like most recipes tell you to do anyways. Okay, so I didn't put the sugar. This is 1/8 of a cup of sugar in as well. And what is this? I think this is 1/4 cup of salt. Let me make sure. Yeah, 1/4 cup of salt. And that's canning pickling salt, by the way. And the vinegar was the 5% acidity or whatever it is. Of course, good old Walmart. Yeah, 5% acidity right here, basically. Alright, so we're going to stir this up. So I've got most of my canning stuff out here. I've got my jar lifter here. I normally have a regular canning funnel, but I think I couldn't find it. It's probably in the sink dirty with everything else. I also have some fresh dill that I'm going to be putting in that I picked from my garden out back. And then this is the debubbler and checking your headspace. So I think you're supposed to have a headspace of a 1/2 inch, I think, for pickles. Let me go check. Yep. 1/2 inch headspace. And then this is just the magnet, the lifter for getting your lids and rings out of the pot. And then I've got garlic, lovely garlic. Okay, so I'm gonna stop right here. We'll wait for the jars, and when they're done, we'll start back up. Okay, so we're back. I got my jars out of the canner here, or out of the water bath or boiling water. The brine came up to a boil. I just shut it off. So basically now it's just packing the jars. So each of the jars, you're supposed to put like a teaspoon of dill seed and a teaspoon of whole mustard seed. Let me get the dill seed down here. Let me see if I can find it. Oh good, it's right up front. Okay, let me see if I got my teaspoon handy. Okay, 1/2 teaspoon will work. So, we are going to put, actually I think for dill seed it's a 1.5 teaspoons per pint. Yeah, so we'll just put 3 of these in. So basically 2, 3. So by the way, if I run out of space, or I can't get them all into 4 jars, I should say, no biggie. I've actually got 3 or 4 jars going in the fridge for refrigerator pickles, which, you know, obviously those are fantastic. No cooking involved at all, so that they're always very crispy. Okay, a teaspoon of mustard seed. So I'm using a half teaspoon measurement here. So 2 of these in each. Now I know a lot of other people put like whole black peppercorns and red pepper flakes and stuff like that. Right now, since I'm new with canning, I know that when you start putting other things into jars, that the process times can change and acidity can change and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm not really comfortable yet with playing around with stuff. As it is, this recipe actually does not call for garlic cloves, and I'm actually putting those in. So let's hope that's not a big deal. Someone please tell me if that's a huge deal and I'm causing major problems or not. So anyways, here's the jars with the mustard seed, dill seed, and a clove. And then I'm also going to split this up between the 4 jars. So again, this is dill that I picked from my garden, my little herb garden that I got going on. And now I'm going to just put the cucumbers in. Now, one thing I notice is that if the cucumber is a little long, can't find my knife. Okay. I'm just kind of cutting the tip off because I want it to be basically below the 1/2 inch headspace. So let me see if I can do this right. So this here, I think this is 1.5 inch. Let's see, you can tell. Yeah, so basically this right here, this is like a 1/4 inch at this spot, and then 1/2 inch at this part, and then let me see, do I have a whole inch? Yeah, and a whole inch headspace is at this part. So if you see all 3 of these here, I think it's 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, inch. So I don't want the pickle to be above that 1/2 inch point. So I've been kind of cutting them a little bit shorter, so to make sure that they can get in at that point. You do want to pack these pretty tight, and surprising enough, you can actually get quite a few in these. And that little chunk I can even put in. So that's pretty good. So let's see, that's about 1, 2, 2.5 really cucumbers that got in there. I was estimating around 3. Let's see if I can squeeze one more small one in here. Yeah, so I was able to get one more spear in there. Okay, so I'm just going to keep repeating that. I had a couple that were really long pickles, so definitely cutting those off. Sorry if I'm quiet. I'm kind of concentrating here, trying to get all my pickles in here, or cucumbers, I should say. All right, there's another one. If you can't hear me, I'm actually eating some of the cucumbers. But I think that's normal, right? The cook gets to taste test, right? Long ones in here that I want to cut off. All right, looking pretty. Okay, one more. Oh, so I should maybe talk a little bit more about that low pasteurization. Oh, I found a couple cucumbers at the bottom that weren't even cut up yet. The low pasteurization, how it works is basically you have to use temperature gauge. That's what I got over here. And you keep your water at like 180 degrees for, I want to say it's like 30 minutes. I'll have to check the recipe really quick. And so yeah, you keep it at the 130, or excuse me, 180 for 30 minutes. And so it doesn't quite bring it to a boil. Okay, here's my last one. And I actually had quite a bit left. So, I mean, honestly, that's probably at least 2 more pints. So I'll have to put that into my fresh jars in the fridge, because there's just no way that I'm gonna boil up more. Or maybe I should. You know what? I'm going to do that. Why waste hot water? And I'm gonna go ahead and just bring up a couple more empty jars. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I boiled up 2 more pints. And I actually, while I was reviewing some of the footage I've already filmed, I saw that I was completely out of the picture when I was showing you the jar and how to know whether you're at a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch or 1 inch headspace. So that's kind of what these threads are. They're kind of like at a 1/4 inch here, 1/2 inch here, and 1 inch here, and that's what this is also used for. So you got a 1/4 inch headspace, 1/2 inch, and 1 inch, and so you can actually just put it at the 1/4 inch. You can see that it kind of lines up with that first thread on the jar, and then here's the 1/2 inch, and then the full inch here. And this is these are pint-sized jars, by the way. Sometimes I notice that in the videos they're hard to tell whether they're quart or pint, you know. I guess it's all in perspective. All right, so let's put our seasonings into the jars here. So again, 1 teaspoon of mustard seed in each. And then 1.5 teaspoons of the dill seed. Hopefully I won't need any more dill seed this season. I'm just about out, and who knows if it's going to be in the store. Just finding canning lids is a chore. So plenty of jars, and of course when you buy new jars, they come with their own ring and lid, but I do not need any more lids, seriously. Just because I've already been kind of canning some jams and we've used them up, and so I've got plenty of, excuse me, so rings. Rings is what I don't need. I need lids. And so there's plenty of rings and lids, or at least some that I could find. But they're really hard to come by, those lids, just buying them by themselves. I did find at one of the stores on Friday, I found a bunch of regular mouth just lids, so I bought like 5 of those, so that's great. But wide mouth is crazy. I'm gonna go outside really quick and go pick some dill, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So I went and got some more fresh dill and drilled it in each one. And then again, I'm gonna add the spears. Already pre-cut these, so easiest method I found was to measure out the length of one spear and then cut all the rest to the same thickness or length. So let's see. Okay, and then these clothes were small, so I'm just going to put 2 of these in each. All right, now comes the brine. Let's hope I have enough. So let's take a look at headspace here. So again, see if I can, that's good. Yep. Okay, so right here is that 1/2 inch headspace. So then I can just double check it here. So it just kind of barely touches this one, but that's good. For the most part, that's just perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna wipe the lid, the rim here. Let me get this wet. Okay, I wanted to get this wet. It was getting a little sticky from the brine. And by the way, jars, you know, you should feel the rim, make sure there's no cracks or nicks out of the rim area. And these were fine. I checked them before I even put them in the boiling water. Okay. So, finger tight. So basically as tight as you can get it with just your fingers. Okay. Oh, by the way, also I saw that you didn't get to see the temperature gauge I'm using. So this is the temperature gauge I'm using. You want to make sure these are calibrated. So I don't know if you guys saw one of my more recent videos where I talked about the dill pickles I'd already done, or that could have been over on Facebook, I'm not sure. But I had said that my first ones that I processed, they didn't pop. And well, come to find out, when I say pop, the lids didn't seal. come to find out, the temperature gauge I was using was off by like 30 degrees. It was crazy amount off. So anyways, I had to process those again. So I went and bought some new thermometers. So if I'm going to do this low pasteurization process again, that I'd have the right temperature gauge. So luckily I had another one. I had a different thermometer that I could tell was correct. Basically, if it's matches your room temperature, I mean, you can kind of guess that it's correct. Okay, maybe a tiny bit more. Okay, and the one thing I didn't do on that last one, but and I probably should have, just to show that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, is the debubbling. I kind of shook that one a little bit. I think it should be fine, but I like to use a chopstick, even though this is what this is for. This is just so big. So I kind of liked using something like this. And basically you're trying to make sure you get all the air pockets out. And maybe, just so that you guys don't worry about me and botulism, we'll just do this one again. See if we see any major bubbles come up, we'll know. Yeah, that was a problem. Okay. Wipe it down again. Again, follow your recipes. Do not follow me. This is not an instruction video. This is a watch someone learn how to can video, basically. And in some cases, don't do what she does. Again, for sure, if you guys see something that I'm not doing quite right, please, please, please let me know. Because I'd like to feel confident that I'm not going to poison my family. Perfect. I like it when I get just the right amount of liquid in. Trying not to touch the inside. And I'll show you the canner here. I'll move the camera so you can kind of see what it's looking like over here. I know the view is not very good. So, in the comment section, you know, tell me what you're canning. You know, all of our gardens are probably producing the same veggies here, though I don't plant a lot of different veggies just because I don't want to overwhelm myself, because this is my first year kind of gardening again. My husband and I actually had a smaller garden a couple of years ago, but kind of stopped gardening for a little bit, and that was actually our first garden. And I kind of stopped gardening because I was busy going to school. So this is the first year back at it. So I'm trying to get in pretty slow. So I only did tomatoes, cucumbers. What else I got? I tried some beets, though that wasn't very good. Darn it. Keep distracting myself and not getting the bubbling process going. Try not to roast me too bad in the comment section. On this one either. So again, don't do as I do. I know I did the first two, so I'm not gonna redo those. I know some people say, oh, well, you don't really need to debubble something like this just because there's plenty of space, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. Anyways, what else am I got going in my garden? Peppers, pepperoncinis. Well, I mean, you guys, a lot of you guys have seen my garden videos, or yeah, my garden tours. So you've seen what I'm basically planting. But for those who haven't, lots of peppers, pepperoncini, Fresno peppers, cayenne peppers, calendula, herbs, strawberries, celery. Man, it just goes on and on. Lettuce. I don't remember. See, I keep distracting myself. Pumpkin. Yeah, I'm thinking video and filming canning is probably not the safest. I have a lot of respect for people that do this. That might be a little bit full. Take some of that out. Okay. Debubble. My goodness. I was gonna do. How many more times do I have to tell myself to debubble? Okay. Okay, now, last lid. So anyways, tell me what you're growing. Tell me if you're canning or drying. I do have a dehydrator or whatever you call it. Haven't used it yet. What I found that's pretty awesome is those people that are using the freeze dryers. Amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna move you guys. Let's see. I'm gonna unplug here. Okay. So camera work here. Okay, we're basically at 160 or 170, right around there. Okay. So it says you're supposed to bring the water up, I think it's 140. This is by the way, is what they call a harvest. I think it's roots and branches, or that actually sounds dumb, but I think it's something like that. But it's both a water canner and a steam canner. So it's got one of those lids that has a temperature gauge on top, and the steam canning is actually wonderful just because you don't have to use as much water, and so you're not spending 20 minutes waiting for water to boil. But in this case, we do not have to wait for that long. But I am water canning this, so the low pasteurization does not say anything about steam canning, so we are going to do water bath canning and just follow their instructions. So, let me get this up. Let's see if that's going to work. Okay, so I'm going to lower the cucumbers or dill pickles down into the water. This part always freaks me out. Okay, the water is supposed to be at least an inch above the lids, which it just is. Perfect. That is the perfect amount of water. Okay, so I'm going to leave the lid off. Turn on the gas. Put the temperature gauge in. We're going to bring it up to 180. Once it hits the 180 degrees, I will then start the timer. Okay, so basically yeah, they say maintain somewhere to 180 to 185 degrees. Anything higher than that, you're basically just kind of unnecessarily cooking the cucumbers. But I don't think it hurts anything if you accidentally go above 185. And then, yeah, you just go for 30 minutes and then you take them out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do all that. And I'll see you in a minute. Okay, time for the fun part. So I went 30 minutes with the jars at 180 degrees. And it wasn't too hard to keep that temperature. So basically, I have the temp on high until it comes up to the 180 degrees on the temperature gauge, and then I immediately turn it down to about at like half, like at medium, to kind of try to hold that temperature. And then it'll hold the temperature for a little bit, and then you'll probably have to turn it down again to about medium low, to even almost low, to continue holding it at that 180 degrees. And so you just want to stay near. Basically, I emptied the dishwasher, loaded the dishwasher, took a look at the temperature every 2 to 3 minutes, and adjusted accordingly. But there is the finished product. Looking gorgeous. So it does take a little bit for the lids to ping, or for the cans to seal, but they will, and hopefully they're good. So anyways, give me some feedback. What do you think? And as always, be kind and wander well.